like it was.
Yeah.
Nothing like it was. So we have to be able to bend. So she speaks of resilience, leadership, and personal reinvention. She inspires others to bend bravely, lead boldly, and build the breakthroughs awaiting on the other side of their life bends. Can you join me in giving Hadley a rousing welcome?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm here to share my story with you. You guys ever been walking down a path and the wind has basically just knocked you off of it? I mean, the metaphorical wind on your path plan, right? You felt like you've been knocked off of your feet. Sometimes you feel like you've been broken. I'm here today to tell you that that metaphorical wind isn't breaking you. It's teaching you how to bend. When you're breaking, it's learning to bend. So I was a yoga teacher for a long time. And I used to love to teach tree pose. In order to get into tree pose, you've got to plant both feet on the ground and then focus on something in front of you. You and me, you got this? And as you're focused, that's when you start to bring your foot up. And you can bring your foot to your ankle, your calf, your knee, whatever it is. And when I would teach, I would have people raise their arms above their head. And I would inspire them and invite them to sway like the wind was moving you. This is tree pose. It's teaching you how to bend. And then, inevitably, somebody sneezes and everybody falls over. There's metaphorical sneezes happening in our lives all the time, right? But that's just the opportunity. It's like I keep moving. Here we are. That's the opportunity to learn how to bend and not break. So, life has this interesting way of making you think that you have to follow this very specific plan, and has building blocks layered on top of each other, right? That's not how life works. My building blocks, I thought, were I needed to go to college and graduate, get a job, find a mate, get married. Nothing was going to get in the way. But that's just not how it turns out. So if you've had these types of building blocks that you thought you were supposed to follow and it didn't happen, raise your hand. And did you think that you were broken when it happened? Or you weren't sure how to begin? All of these people who raised their hand, these are your fellow vendors. When I had these building blocks in front of me that I thought I was supposed to follow, it didn't happen. My building blocks weren't linear. They were like mosaic tile pieces. And it took me a very long time to turn around and look and see that that mosaic piece was beautiful. So I'm just going to kind of give you an example of what happened. When I turned 30 years old and I was still single, then clearly hope was lost and I was the captain of the Spinsters Club. When I was 30 years old, I was also nearly 10 years into a career planning events when I thought that I would be a famous actress or comedian. So I was settling into this career. But something happened so unexpected one day, and it took me a really long time to realize what that was. I got an invitation to a meeting from somebody who worked at a company in Santiago, Chile. And I thought that this meeting was just like, who do you know at events and all this kind of stuff. And we had this conversation for about 45 minutes. And then he said to me, have you ever considered moving to Santiago? And I was like, no. And then he said, are you married? And I was like, well, that's rude. But what happened was I started to consider this new opportunity. And I started having more conversations and interviews with people at this company. And they all asked me what my professional experience was. And they also all asked me what my marital status was. And I learned two things. One, that the human resources law in the United States are very strict, not elsewhere. But this spinster status that I thought I was wearing was actually becoming like a secret ingredient for an adventure for me. And I thought, I want to wear this opportunity. So there was something that happened. I had all these conversations, and I decided to accept this opportunity to move to Santiago, Chile. And while I was there, I want to tell you about 3 major things that happened in those 3 years. One, I learned that I had a lot of courage because I moved to a country where the language that I spoke of it got me as far as ordering a beer in the car. A beer in the bar, but couldn't navigate the streets. I also took on a really exciting adventure that I hadn't ever experienced before, and I went to India for 6 weeks. I also learned that I loved to hike. When I was in Santiago, before I went, I knew I needed to engage people to help me on what to do. I engaged them. What do I pack? Where do I go? What apps do I need to download? Are you sure you're going to be there when I call? I'm freaking out that I'm in this new country and working. But I knew I was going to need to do the same thing when I got there, and I didn't know anybody. But I was going to have to engage other people to help me order more than just a beer, but also to navigate the banking system, the metro system, the apartment leases, all of those things. I had to step outside of my comfort zone. I lost my train of thought. And when I got there, I had so much fear. But the fear turned something that I realized inside of me was the same physical sensation when I was terrified. It was the same physical sensation when I was really excited. And on paper, I'm calling this the gut check. But I'm going to tell you I call it the poop factor. Because when I feel like I'm going to shaduki in my pants, I'm going to have to try. I'm terrified to go. I'm terrified to start, but I had to begin. Even if it was going to turn out different than what I expected. So, I had a mentor of mine that once told me that it's not fear that stops people from trying things. It's being afraid of fear. So I want you to think about that for a second. Think about when you learned to ride a bike. You were likely afraid of falling or veering off of the path, but you weren't afraid to get up and try, and you kept doing that. That's what all of these bends in life are teaching you, to get up and try. And it can turn out completely different than what you expect, but first you have to begin. That's what fear feels like excitement, sorry. So I'm going to use an example. This is a really cute picture of me from 12 years ago in India. This is a crazy pose that I wanted to try. I had to engage other people. I saw my teacher do it, and I was like, I want to do that. And so I got taught how to do it. You crisscross applesauce, lotus pose, and then stand up on your knees. And I would try, and I would fall, and I would try, and I would fall. And I had people around cheering me on, encouraging me, you need to do this. And I had one person ready. And I was able to hold it for the click of the camera, and then fell out of it. So that I could show people that I did this. And I never did it again. So trying something, it doesn't matter what you look like when you're trying, it just means that you're giving it a shot and you have the courage to do it. When I went to India, it wasn't on my plan. I had never expected that I would go there one day. But all of a sudden I found myself applying for teacher trainings. I let people know, I was like, I think I'm going to do this. I had people cheer me on. I had naysayers, which was really important. Like, why would you do this? What could happen? You know, ask me the questions that I hadn't yet considered. I got a lecture from my mother. She told me to go see a priest, but I bought the ticket and I went to India. And I could tell you about my experience in India for the rest of my life, but I just want to tell you about 2 major things that I learned while I was there. One of them is that balance doesn't really necessarily start on your feet. It also doesn't necessarily start on your hands, and it doesn't necessarily start on your head. It starts in between your ears, with focus. That's one of the most important lessons that I learned. So in order to get back right up and to start something, you have to focus. The other thing that I learned while I was in India is that everything shifts from side to side, from happiness to sadness. It all is just a pendulum shift of life. And so I know that it's not going to last. When I had been in Santiago, I had been in a relationship. And the writing was on the walls when I was going to be returning from India that the relationship wasn't going to last anymore. And I knew that my heart was going to be broken. But I knew that I wasn't going to break. Because remember, I had that secret ingredient of knowing that being single was something that was a bit of a superpower of mine, and I was going to be able to put it back on. So it was okay for me to be sad about something that was no longer, that provided joy in my life at one time, and I could mourn it, because eventually I was going to move on. So about 6 months later, I put my single cape back on, and I booked myself on a solo backpacking trip for 6 weeks around South America. And I started all the way at the bottom in Patagonia, and I worked my way up to the highest altitude of Bolivia, and the final week was me trekking through Machu Picchu in Peru. The second or third day on this trek, it's called the Salcantay trek. It goes up to the highest peak, 15,000 feet. And the second or third day was the hardest part of the hike. That's when we were hiking up, I think close to about 1,500 feet in one day. It could have gone straight up. But what the trail provided us was switchbacks. And this is where it all came together for me. So those of you who may not hike very often, a switchback is when the trail zigzags from side to side, so that you kind of feel like, I'm not going straight up, this is easier than I expected. It's not. But one thing that we did was we would take a break at each bend. And I would turn around and I would look over the horizon and see how far I had come. I would take a breath. I would turn and start to put one foot back in the other. This was exhilarating because we made it to the summit of 15,000 feet. It was time for us to celebrate. And the clouds rolled in and the sky opened up. And it was the unexpected bend of, you've got 15 minutes to take your picture and we gotta go. So we had to hike back down the other side of the mountain about 2,000 feet to get to the next place that we were gonna camp. We were soaked to the bone. I had a toenail hanging on by a thread. But we were laughing and we were encouraging each other. So we had begun this trek as strangers. We engaged each other to get our way all the way to the top. We navigated with the trail and the guides and the donkeys carrying our backpacks because, let's be honest, I needed a little help there. And we developed friendship and this new sense of self and respect for what we were doing. But in order to experience a bend in your life, you don't need a passport. And you don't necessarily need all of your toenails. This can happen in your backyard, which is what happened to me. After almost 2 decades in this career that had become something that I loved so much and was a part of my identity, I was laid off. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't really even know who I was anymore because I had become not an actress, but this reality life of events and traveling the world, like this was great. So I tried to cling to what I knew. I do corporate events. I work for companies. This is what I want. And the universe was like, I'm trying to tell you something. I need you to take a break. So I did. And I took a breath. And then I engaged my community. And I reached out to my entrepreneurial friends. And I got advice. And I got the questions I hadn't considered. And that's really important when you're starting something new. You need people to ask you those negative questions so that you're prepared for them when they happen. And that's when I developed my business, Holistic Meeting Strategies. So I just wanted to let you know that each time the road in front of you bends, it's not there to break you. It's there to break you open, and to take a pause, and to breathe. So I want to leave you with this, that every bend has taught me courage. Oh, I forgot, that slide should have been ahead. But I wasn't broken apart. I was broken open each time this happened. And it will continue to happen. And we have to remind ourselves of these lessons that we can do it again. So my method, bend, is when you begin with courage. You all have it in you. I found it in me, even as that spinster at 30. Engage with trust. Engage your community, your network. Let them ask you the questions you don't want to hear. Let them cheer you on from afar and stand there ready to hold you should the road lead you in a direction you weren't expecting. Navigate the unknown with their advice. So You know that whole adage that men don't ask for directions? My husband says that I need ways to get out of our driveway, which I don't, but it's available. But as women, how many of you don't ask for help to climb the next ladder? Or don't ask for help to take the kids to school, start the business, pour the glass of wine, do the laundry? Okay, how many of you do one trip between the car and the house from the grocery store? Oh my God, it is ridiculous how many things I carry. But if we have ways available to tell us how to get somewhere that we've gone time and time again, why can't we ask somebody else to help us there too? We might get 7 different ways from 9 different people, but that's when you can develop the way that works for you. And that's the final part of Bend, is to develop something new within you, a relationship, a business, whatever it is. So I want to leave you with this, that the Bend is where your breakthrough begins. Because she's been the MC extraordinaire today. But please allow me the pleasure of introducing Dr. Melanie Gray.
Yes.
She is a woman on a mission to help other women reclaim their power and prioritize your well-being without guilt. Dr. Gray is a confidence coach, mindset strategist, healthcare leader with over 20 years of experience in acute care leadership and higher education. She does not stop. She's the creator of Empowered Women 90-Day Blueprint, a transformative program designed to help women in leadership break through burnout to boost confidence and live with intention. She's known for her engaging, energetic, and evidence-based approach. Dr. Gray empowers audiences and people she just happens to meet to shift their mindset, embrace self-care, and show it fully both in life and in leadership. She's speaking here today, and she is providing a powerful opportunity to pour into women who are ready to rise. So together, we're going to create a space where healing, confidence, and bold authenticity aren't just encouraged, they're expected. So give it up for Dr. Melanie Gray.